Welcome to the Leading Hope Podcast with Kevin Jack. Your influence will lead people somewhere, lead them towards hope. Everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.
Welcome to Leading Hope with Kevin Jack. I'm your host, VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. We release a new episode every Wednesday, so we'd love for you to share on social media and bring others along with us on this journey of becoming a better leader. Visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to us if you did that right now. Also, post about it, rate and review. You will not believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you. Today, Kevin, we are in episode 55, the 2/3 rule for decision making.
Episode 55. This 55. Is crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, so today, everyone, we are talking about decision making. And I want to pull you into a principle that I just discovered recently as I was making decisions myself and observing how people responded to decisions being made. And this is really what I want to address. I want to address what is going on within people's thoughts and what's going on within your culture whenever you make a decision that is the right decision that people push up against, disagree with, are frustrated with. And my guess is almost all of us have been in a spot in which we made a decision and it was the right decision. Then someone said something in disagreement or said something that they were unhappy with, they weren't satisfied with, and we responded with, well, it's the right decision. Like, get over it. Yep. You should be fine. It's the right decision. And I want to show you because there is more going on in decision-making than just making the right decision. So let me give you a goal line at the very end. This is what you want. You want to have the right decision at the right time in the right way. The right decision at the right time in the right way. So let's break those apart real quickly. The right decision, obviously the right decision matters. You don't always know what the right decision is in the moment, but the right decision is incredibly important. And we're not going to jump into that like obsessively here because there have been books and books and books written on making the right decision. I just want to press one thing in this moment, that decision making is a skill that some people have more than others that can be developed over time. So not everyone's decision-making ability is equal as of this moment. Making good decisions, like you've got a friend who they just can't seem for the life of them, financially, relationships, to make a right decision, okay? And if you don't have that friend, you are that friend, and you should seek out the counsel of others. But we'll say, hey, the right decision matters. But then also what matters is the right time. It is not always the right time to make a decision. You can make a decision too early, which we'll dive into once we get into process. You can also make it too late and miss the opportunity. The timing of the decision that you make matters. And then the third piece is the right way. At this point in time, we're talking about process. Who contributes to the decision, who is heard from, has appropriate research and background information been done? Are you just going with your gut? Is it your decision? Is it your team's decision? Is it the board's decision? Like the process of the decision making in terms of research, time, like some decisions require far more time than others for people to kind of adjust to it. But you need those three things. You need the right decision at the right time in the right way. Now, here's my guess just first off before we get to the principle. If you're upset about people's negative response to a decision that you made that you know is the right decision, and I trust you, okay? I believe that it was the right decision. But if people were frustrated at the right decision, my guess is that one of those two weren't in place, that you didn't look at the full picture. You didn't properly examine, hey, what's the process that this decision needs to go through? You probably looked at it and go, well, this is obvious to me, so it should be obvious to everyone. or you completely neglected the timing to the decision and you just made it in a moment, or maybe you made it way too late and you sat on it for too long. But if you're frustrated about a decision being made, my guess is you didn't look at the full picture. Now, here is the principle for today. The best decisions involve all three: the right decision at the right time through the right process. But you can get away with just doing 2 out of the 3. You can get away with just having 2 out of the 3. You can't get away with only having 1. And so if you made the right decision at the wrong time in the right way, there's going to be anger and animosity, and it's going to kill the trust on your team, and it's going to kill your credibility as a leader. But so we ideally strive for an environment in which we have all 3 present. But if something's pressed, if timing's tight, if there's no way to have great process, you can get away with having 2 out of the 3. Now, let me explain that. Sometimes your time is pressed, and you can have the right decision in the right process, but not at the ideal time. So let me give you an example. A couple years ago, we changed the name of our church.
We did.
And thank you. I appreciate the information.
That's right.
We changed the name of our church. And I'll have people come and talk to me. They go, what was your process for changing the name? And they go, you don't want our process. Because this was our process, is we came into our leadership team and we said, listen, we're going to start campuses. We need a non-geographic center name because we can't be Beaver Creek Church of the Nazarene and other locations. So we need a non-geographic center name. And every single month that we delay, we set our marketing and promotion efforts back. So we said, hey, here's the deal. We need the right decision. And like, this matters immensely that we have it happen quickly. And so we were able to get away. We only had 2 out of the 3. Sometimes it is more important that you get everyone involved and that your timing is a little off. Now, this is just personal preference. I think timing is the second most important piece of this. I think the right decision is the most important piece, and timing is the second most important piece. But there may be times where you go, it is okay if we're late as long as we go through the proper channels and the proper process. And this is what you're thinking through. You're thinking through, do I need my team fully on board? Is it more important that everyone has had an opportunity to contribute to this, and we're a little delayed on implementation? And if that is the case, then you go, we need the right decision through the right process, and it can be at the wrong time. And so in this, you're going, hey, the transition may need to be a little slower than I would ideally like in order to keep everyone involved. So those are 2 examples. Like, hey, your timing or your process may be off. Your timing may be off. And then here's the third one, and this is just going to, some of you, you're just not going to like this, and you're going to think this doesn't make sense at all. But sometimes to build the team, you need to have the flexibility to make the wrong decision at the right time through the right process.
Yeah.
And there's some times that you have to go, hey, I need to be sure we're thinking correctly, so I have to guide the process. I need to be sure that we're not waiting on decisions far too long, because that can easily get built into your culture and your team, that you wait around for the ideal environment, and the ideal environment's never coming. Talk about this from a parent perspective. Sometimes as a parent, maybe this is the best analogy, you need to allow your kid to make the wrong decision, but you can do it at the right time and in the right way. And they'll sharpen their decision-making ability through that, and you just need to take it through the other 2. Now, if you're hearing that and you're going, absolutely not, never, you never let someone make the wrong decision. This is my guess, is you're always going to neglect process, and the frustration of your team, of you lone rangering decisions over and over again, is a constant battle that you're going to fight, which is why you may need to hear this more than anyone else. But the larger piece on all this is just to go, decision making is not just about making the right decisions. It's about building ownership of the team. It's about being aware of when is the right time to make those decisions, and making sure you're seizing opportunities and not missing them. And so when it comes to decision making, you need the right decision at the right time, through the right process or in the right way. And that's the ideal environment. But when it's pressed, you can get away with 2 out of the 3. Never 1 out of the 3. But you can get away with 2 out of 3. Let me give you a couple key takeaways, and then we'll see what you got on this, Vij, and where you want to head. So, couple key takeaways. Number 1, don't ever blame a lack of process or poor timing because it's the right decision. Don't ever go, well, we can't have right timing, we can't have right process because this is the right decision. I'll tell you this, you're smarter than that. At least now, you're smarter than that because you know timing and process matters. Second takeaway, know that ideal decisions have all 3, but you need at least 2. You can't get away with just 1. And third takeaway and last one, if you're going to forsake timing and process, if you're going to take everything that we've just talked about and say, I don't care, I'm just going to make the right decision. Here's the deal. If you're going to forsake timing and process, you better be right, okay? You better be right. If you're wrong, you don't have a job or you don't have a team. That's just the reality of go. If you go, I'm going to neglect the voices of those around me and subvert the system. I'm going to throw timing away and make this decision way too early because of a bet. You can do that. You just better be right, because if you're wrong, everything else is going to fall apart. Vij, what you got?
That's unfortunate because you know people in your life that's happened to.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we all have worked either, whether it was in college, at whatever, the restaurant, whatever, any kind of different job that you had, that's happened where they just made decisions, no process, no thought, just did it, and now they're
and then complained about people and was like, well, it's the right choice. Yeah. It's the right choice.
Yeah.
And like, just be smarter than that.
How come no one follows me? How come no one wants to do what I said we should do? But let's start with this. First of all, the people that are watching, you guys are way smarter than us. And I know you guys probably already know this, but what are some of those books that you were talking about right at the beginning? Books about making the right decision. What are some of those? Because I'm interested in that.
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, for one of the easiest ones that I recommend is Andy Stanley just came out with a book that's called Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets.
Ooh.
And it's like 90 pages. And so it's fantastic. The Heath brothers have another book on decision making that's so good. And so they're out there like, this is how to make the right decision. Yeah. But oftentimes they neglect timing and process factor into the decision as well.
Yeah, that's a good note to follow. Wrong decision at the right time and the right way.
Yeah.
Talk more about that. I think that's where probably most leaders will feel like they can still accomplish something at the end of a term, right?
Yeah.
You made the wrong decision, but you did it at the right time. So you had time to really recover is what that's really saying. And you did it the right way, so you didn't make people mad in the process of it.
So let me say it like this. My job at our church, as it comes to decisions within the church, is not to make decisions. Like, that's not my role. And it's almost hilarious because if you come from the outside in our church, people will come to me like, hey, I think we should do this. And anyone who works within our system knows I almost make 0 decisions because that's not my job. My job is to make sure, I believe my role is to ensure that we have an environment in which healthy decisions are being made at an optimal period of time.
Yeah.
Like, that's my goal, is to create a culture that expects, let me say it stronger, to create a culture that demands that multiple people can speak into a decision, and a culture that is comfortable with risk, because if we wait on all of our decisions being a sure thing, we will miss massive amounts of opportunities. And so that's what I'm looking at. And so I go, hey, when something comes up in our team, is a single person just trying to grab it and run with it?
Yeah.
When someone has an idea, are they just running with it? Or are they naturally filtering it through a couple other people's thought process?
Yeah, that's good. We have a lot of that here at church where we have so many different ideas that we want to implement, but the best ideas are the ones that everyone wants to be a part of. Mm-hmm. But when we go back to this, when we say sometimes the wrong decision helps people learn process, Talk about that. Not that you're leading them into the wrong decision.
Exactly.
That's terrible leadership. But sometimes you want to make sure that if that's the way everyone wants to go, even if you don't agree with it, if it's the right time and the what was the third one, the right way, then you just go with it because you know there's going to be a learning opportunity. Talk about that.
So I'll say it from the idea that decision-making is a skill, and it's a skill that gets developed. When you're young, like you're young in your leadership, that can feel like an enormous amount of pressure to make a decision.
Yeah.
And the worst leaders over you will take the decision from you and make it for you because they see that you're struggling. And that is the worst thing that they can do for your development.
That's good.
It must stay your decision. Even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
It must stay your decision. Now, like, let's be clear. If the decision is a safety decision and it's between you doing something safely and you burning the building down, intervene. If you're going to bankrupt the organization, intervene. Like if it's life or death like that, don't let them. If your kid is like making a decision between should I look both ways before crossing the street or just make the decision for them.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm guessing you're not giving a young leader at an entry point that kind of authority and power in a decision. And so you can't take the decision from them.
Yeah.
You have to allow them to make it and see it play out, and that's how they build the skill.
That's good. If the decision is saving lives, make the decision.
Make the decision for them.
So we've talked a lot about the decision, making the right decision. Talk just a little bit about the other two that you had in here. So the right time. Talk about more about how do you know the right time?
Oh, that's so hard. I have no answer for that.
Good.
Because and that's why timing is so difficult.
Yeah.
Because the reality is you don't always know how long the opportunity will be available to you. And there's some people that they assume every opportunity that comes their way is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that will vanish in the next moment.
Yes.
And you just need to figure out who those personality types are. Otherwise, you're going to make some really horrific decisions. Figuring out timing, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't know what is the window of opportunity and to ensure that the decision is made before that window closes.
Yeah.
But timing matters.
Yeah.
And in the same line within that, process matters.
Yeah.
That people know who gets to make the decision, who gets to speak into it, who has researched the decision. It matters. And the thing, honestly, behind all this that is more frustrating to me than anything else is just how unaware people are of these dynamics and will complain about their boards or their teams, or let's put it like this, complain about their family. Like, let's be clear. If you're in a marriage and there's a big financial decision that's being made, the right process is to speak to your spouse about it. Like, that's pretty paramount to the process of what's taking place.
Yeah.
And you can't neglect those and then just sit back and go, well, it's the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's powerful. And then lastly, let's talk about the last one that we have here, because I think the right time is very difficult.
Yeah.
Hard to get right. But this last one seems like one that you can do. I would say it has to. We call this the 2/3 rule of decision making. I would assume that this one is the one that you have the best shot of getting right all the time. Yeah,
agreed.
The right way. Talk more about that. I mean, should you start there? Should you start with the process every time?
Oh, I think always.
Yeah.
I think process is the easiest thing to hold to. Now, the only hard thing is if it is timing pressed, you will have to neglect process.
Yeah.
And not everyone will get the kind of say. And so I would say if you're making that decision and your 2/3 are I'm making the right decision at the right time and I'm losing process, don't throw process out the window altogether.
Yeah.
Try to maximize your communication and explain so clearly this is why we had to make this decision right now.
Yeah.
Normally, I would do this, but this is why we had to make the decision right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the heart of the question, because I think leaders, I don't want to make this I don't know how to say this. Like,
I'm excited. I think you're all nervous.
We talk about political stuff.
Oh, you're jumping there.
Yeah.
Now I'm nervous.
Yeah. But just generally thinking, like, it's so hard for us to follow people that make decisions without an explanation.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's when I look at this the right
Part
way.
of process is explaining purpose.
Right. And so, like, I think that's the biggest failure in the right way is even if it's the wrong time. I mean, you don't want to, it's not the 1/3 rule. It's the 2/3 rule. But, like, you've got to almost get that one right just because people will be way more forgiving if they understand why you made the decision.
Absolutely.
Every time. All right. Well, I think that wraps up this episode. What do you want someone to leave with today, Kevin?
You're too smart to just say, I made the right decision, and then be upset at people's lack of acceptance of that decision. You need the right decision at the right time, in the right way, and you can get away with at least 2 out of the 3. If you only have 1 out of the 3, you sure as heck better be right, or you don't have a job.
That's powerful. All right, thank you guys for joining us for episode 55, the 2/3 rule for decision making. If you're new to the podcast and haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how that helps us get the podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you. We love hearing your stories of how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online and send that to us. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on in your businesses, in your lives, and your families. We just are encouraged by those stories, so let us know. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.